Hey guys, this is Heidi for AllFreeKnitting.com, and today I've got a new video tutorial for you on how to do the diagonal basket weave stitch. This stitch, just like its name, looks just like a basket weave, and what's really cool about this stitch is that the interwoven stitches are constructed in such a way that they make the stitch really dense and warm, so this would make an awesome cowl or a nice man's sweater. For the diagonal basket weave stitch, you need to cast on a multiple of 2 stitches plus 1. So on this left hand needle, we've got 9 stitches cast on, and I did the long tail cast on. And this stitch is a little complicated, but the resulting fabric that you're knitting is super interesting looking. You've got stitches that are crisscrossing as you go up the work, and it's really dense in a really fun way. So you're kind of weaving as you're knitting, hence it being called diagonal basket weave stitch. So to accomplish that, we've got our multiple of 2 stitches plus 1 cast on. So the nice thing about this stitch is that it's just 2 rows repeating over and over. So for the first row, we're going to slip 1 stitch as if to knit. So you put your needle through front to back through the back loop and slip it off without wrapping your working yarn around the needle. Then, leaving that yarn in back still, we're going to slip 1 stitch purlwise. So bringing the right needle over the left through the front loop, we'll slip that 2nd stitch. Now, here's the most complicated part of the stitch. We're not going to work through the first loop on the left needle, we're going to work through the 2nd. So we're going to take our right needle and put it through the back loop of the 2nd stitch from the end and knit it like normal. The hardest part is not knitting this too tight, so feel free to pull a little bit extra yarn through to give yourself some slack. Now, since we've knit through that 2nd loop, we need to knit through the 1st like normal. So wrap your yarn around and knit that stitch, and make sure to give yourself a little slack if it's tight, and bring both of those loops off the end. That's what introduces the little twist that makes the diagonal basket weave look the way it does. So again, bring your right needle through the back of the 2nd loop from the end and knit it without knitting it too tight. Then knit through the 1st loop on your left hand needle, bringing that loop back through, and then bring both of those loops off the end. One more time, knit through the 2nd loop on the left hand needle at the back, knit through the 1st, and bring both loops off the end. And now there should be just 1 stitch left on your needle, and you'll just knit that like normal. That's the easy part. So your first row is done. This is what the right side of the first row looks like. So for the 2nd row, you'll turn your work over, and the first thing you'll do is slip 2 stitches purlwise, leaving your yarn at the back. Slip 1, slip 2. Now bring the yarn to the front of your work, and again, we're going to work the 2nd stitch from the end of the left needle. So we'll purl that, and then we'll purl the 1st stitch. You're probably sensing a pattern at this point, and you'll bring both those loops off the end. Purl the 2nd loop from the needle, purl the 1st, and bring both off. Purl the 2nd loop, purl the 1st, and bring both loops off the end. And then for the last stitch, you'll knit it, not purl it. You'll knit that last one. So we've got that done, and you'll notice that this is a really dense stitch because of all that crisscrossing. Your work tends to shrink. So if you're designing a project with this, you'll want to make sure to do a gauge swatch so you'll know how many stitches per inch this will take up, because it'll probably be less stitches per inch than if you just knit across. So let's show you how to do all that again. So we're on the right side of our work, and the first loop we slip knitwise, the second loop purlwise, all with the yarn at the back, then loosely knit the second loop from the left needle, and then loosely knit the first, bringing both loops off the end afterwards. Knit the second loop, knit the first, and bring both off the end. Knit the second loop, knit the first, and bring both loops off the end, and knit that last stitch. Then we'll switch to the wrong side. Slip the first 2 stitches purlwise with the yarn at the back. Bring the yarn to the front. Purl the second loop. Purl the first. Bring both off the end. Purl the second loop. Purl the first. Bring both off the end. Purl the second. Purl the first. Bring both loops off, and then knit that last stitch. So that's 2 repeats of this 2-row motif. Now that's kind of small, so let's look at this bigger swatch. So this is what, I think this was 11 stitches across instead of 9. This is what an 11 stitch repeat of the diagonal basket weave stitch looks like. So as you go, you can see on the right side just how basket-like the stitch is, which is obviously where it got its name. Alright, you survived. That is the diagonal basket weave stitch, and it's a little complicated, but it's got so many fun uses, especially for winter projects. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up, or subscribe for even more great knitting tutorials.